Transgender military ban equals outrage du jour. Hey, it's Prince of Queens, and you've probably heard by now that Trump has announced a ban on transgender people serving in the military.
What?
I've gotten a few requests for my opinion about this transgender military ban, so I figured I better get right on it so that people know what I think. Or what I don't think, because I'm not thinking too much about it. Truthfully, it's pretty much a no-brainer for me. On the one hand, I want to be Mr. Nice Guy and not crush the dreams of transgender people who really want to serve, but objectively, my opinion is very simple, which is that I don't really give a shit about the ban. And no, that's not just because I have compassion fatigue and no longer care about stuff legitimately negatively affecting the transgender community. And if you want proof of that, you can watch the video I uploaded yesterday where I do my best to completely eviscerate the gender-critical feminist, aka TERF, community for their wretched and abusive behavior. But really, people seriously expect me to be clutching my own goddamn pearls about the fact that the White House is calling for the ban on transgender people in the military? Really? Somebody told me it's unconstitutional and illegal, though of course they didn't include an exact citation. Here's the thing, guys, and some of you diehard leftists and even a few libertarians might not like my opinion on this. When it comes to our military, it has to be pragmatism first, especially in such unstable global times like we are in now. Practicality needs to be the bottom line. We don't know what the fuck is happening in Syria, or between Saudi Arabia and Yemen, or anywhere else in the Middle East. We don't know what is going to happen with China if they get angry about trade, or if their property development economy bubble collapses soon, which it likely will. And we never truly know what could happen with Russia. Ultimately, our military is not a sports team, nor a social club, nor a national mascot like it might seem to be if you go to the right parade. The military is an essential utility for our nation, and serving in the military, if we are actually fighting a war for a good reason, is an honor and a privilege if a soldier is capable and will help more than they hinder. As any member of the armed services will tell you, the military does not exist because they are in favor of war. The military exists ideally to provide peace. And the next thing the person in the military will gladly tell you is why exactly so much of our national budget goes to the armed services. No, it is not simply because we are greedy oil thieves that have fought entirely fraudulent wars over and over again, though that has definitely been true more than once. More so, the United States has truly become the authority of the entire world that basically enforces global humanitarianism to the best of our capabilities. There are countless countries that rely on our military for protection, and you better believe that if somehow our nation fell, like these motherfucking Antifa psychos seem to want, the entire planet would become unstable and there would literally be wars on every continent, probably including Antarctica, within months. And so, why the hell did Trump ban transgender people from the military? Was it because doing this helps to create even more fear and superiority on the red state side of America? It's mostly about how they can make transgender people seem like they are less of a citizen by taking away what they can or cannot do. This isn't just about the military, it's about people having the same opportunities. And if one can be taken away, then who's to say they can't take away more? Basically, this hypothetical person thinks that this is the beginning of Trump's masterful plan to take away every right from every individual in our nation so that eventually he can throw us all in the oven because, of course, he's still definitely literally Hitler. Or maybe we could check out Trump's official statement in regards to why he made this decision. He said he consulted with my generals and military experts and the US government will not accept or allow transgender individuals to serve in any capacity in the US military. Trump thinks that the military must be focused on decisive and overwhelming victory and cannot be burdened with the tremendous medical costs and disruption that transgender in the military would entail. So, okay. It sounds like maybe this is a pragmatic decision because this was done under advice from his generals, and not sorry to leftist media, but you cannot spend the past few years making such a tremendous deal about how horribly difficult it is to be transgender, highlighting, among many things, the massive plethora of strict medical expenses that come along with transitioning, without having people think to themselves that it's an expensive hassle medically alone. Not to mention counselors and psychiatrists that trans people should generally be seeing, as well as awkwardness like the question of whether or not somebody is going to shower with the men or the women, because I'm not sure if you've heard, showering doesn't tend to be something that you get to make too much of a fuss about during boot camp. When they say, hit the showers, I'm guessing you get while the getting is good. So now granted, there might be exceptions to this being a logical universal decision. If there are transgender personnel serving in the military that are good at their posts, then I can't necessarily say that it's a great idea to get rid of them. It's probably a bad idea. So if that happens, perhaps that's messed up. It probably is, because being in the military is a career for a lot of people, and people shouldn't forget that. Still, I think that ultimately, when we look at the massive hyperbolic nervous breakdown so many people are having about this, I think that what is going on there, in terms of where all the outrage is coming from, is the fact that the left has systematically self-organized itself to be obsessed with prioritizing the feelings of whomever is best at convincing everybody else that their lives are the hardest. That was a monster created by way of the proliferation of fourth-wave intersectional feminism, of course, which gave ultimate victim status due to being in three main categories. You're an ultimate victim if you're one of the following or all three. If you're Black, Muslim, and or transgender. This all happened for a reason, of course, because the Democratic Party attempted to use intersectional feminism as basically the only selling point to get people to vote for Hillary Clinton. But when that didn't work, the victim glorifying masses of the left are still following the victimized leader, whichever way the triggered happy person tells them to go, like they are the Pied Piper. And so, even when a very logical and pragmatic decision is made that involves minorities, especially one of the magical three, that is based around strengthening our nation and many other nations' national defense forces to be the least expensive and as efficient as possible, even when a logical decision is made, like a room full of white feminists at Evergreen College looking to the one Black trans person for guidance, the masses of the stupefied left have this general reaction. What? Because it's simply their conditioning. Sorry, this is massively different than homosexuals serving in the military. No matter what argument people use to oppose having gays in the military, there is no way they were as tangible of reasons as reducing costs that the military would pay for medical expenses and not having to worry about complications like shower rooms during boot camp. You can hate the military all you want, and I don't care. And you can also go ahead and be one of those whopping doublethink hypocrites who simultaneously hates the military and yet demands LGBT inclusion in the military. But one thing that you have to accept is that if you are somebody with extra medical needs or an unusual physical condition, the military might not be a good fit for you. People's lives depend on soldiers doing their job well and with as little budget as possible. If not domestically, certainly then overseas, at least at some point if the soldier gets deployed. So, if you aren't hearing about people with bipolar disorder or Crohn's disease complaining about not being able to serve in the military, perhaps you shouldn't complain about transgender soldiers much either being excluded unless there's a really good reason for them to stay in the military. That depends on the individual that's already serving. That's all I have to say for this video. Hit me up on Twitter or in a YouTube private message if you want to get my PayPal to send me a donation. And then you could also always be like these people and help me out on Twitter so that I can buy a new computer. And stay tuned.